famine going on. Canada came out to help despite the ban on China by UN. And Canada took it on its own hand for humanity to help Chinese people. So I think there's no looking back. China look at Canada as a reliable alliance, and it's something that they can count on Canada should they need any help. And I think in that part, CCLA plays an important role. Why? Because CCLA is people-to-people tie, and China realized that all parliamentarians has to have some kinds of recognition of each other. They have to have constant exchange of point of view, and that is why CCLA now, I'm here today, that we are now entering the 19th year of bilateral, and this is every time there's a new chapter go on, CCLA seems to be getting ahead of time in connecting both countries on both cultural tie, people-to-people tie, and economic ties.
One thing or one reality that might make people in Canada a little bit uncomfortable is that we know over the years Canada has always been a popular haven for China's runaway corrupt officials and some other economic criminals. And I think these people are by no means welcomed by your country. But given the fact that now between our two countries there is still a lack of extradition treaty, how do you think we can bring these people to justice from a legislative level?
I think what you're mentioning about the corrupted people who has in Canada, that we have shift back, we have returned back some of them to Chinese government.
One prominent figure might be Lai Chang-xing.
Yes, and also we have made some of them voluntarily return to China. But the whole thing is that, don't forget, Canada is a law every country. As I was with the Prime Minister in 2014 visit, on the third bilateral visit to China, the issue came out by President Xi Jinping during the bilateral meeting. And we have pointed out very clearly Canada is a law-abiding country, that everything must go to a legal system. And as our Prime Minister pointed out, we will not send anyone into Canada illegally or through a different way of coming in. But the whole thing is that our legal system, there's a lot of loopholes where these people could go long and find all the loopholes to stay on in Canada.
As you probably know, many people here in China love to compare Canada with Australia. We know in terms of trade, China is the second largest trading partner of Canada. But some people say trade between China and Canada has already been left behind the China-Australia bilateral trade. For example, they say the current annual trade volume between our two countries is only around half of the volume between China and Australia. China and Australia now have the bilateral FTA, but there is no such thing between our two countries. Do you think such comparison, how would you look at such comparisons? Do you think they make sense?
I think Canada and China is moving on steadily. Australia is closer to China. Geographically, you're on the same time zone. We are sort of in the other side of the Pacific Ocean. And both countries are pretty similarity on nature, depends on natural resource as Australia. But I think we are moving towards the right direction. And we are, in fact, one of the first countries in the world to offer Chinese citizen holding passport holder that 10 years multiple entry visa to Canada. We are the first country in the world to done that. And so I would say, Canada in the other way still pushing forward, not just on economic, but also people-to-people ties and cultural ties.
We will talk about people-to-people ties sometime later. But talking about further promoting the bilateral trade between our two countries, what areas do you think we particularly need to work on at this point?
I would say on bilateral trade, the Canadian basically are more conservative compared to the Australians because Canada are too comfortable for too many years. We are right next to America. 85% of Canadian export is going south. We make things easier for the farmers, make things easier for the auto parts, it make things easier for any manufacturing because distance of travel just across the border and you sell your goods there. But now, because US has slowed down on the economic pinch, when the South are not buying, we have to find outlet for our exports, for our GDP growth. So I would say, in that case, we will be catching up. But Australia is different because Australia must go out. They got to be aggressive to look for new markets. They must export. Otherwise, there's no neighbor right next to them to be, for them as a cushion.
What about investment between our two countries? We know currently between the United States and China, and also between the European Union and China, negotiations over bilateral investment treaty are going on for quite a number of years already. Do you think such a treaty is also needed between our two countries?
Canada, we have only 38 million population.